For women over 45, strength training is the absolute most important exercise component. It will continue to be until you take your last breath. I'm Deborah Atkinson. You're listening to Flipping 50, where I address your top struggles and concerns, and I share how to eat, how to move, and how to change your mindsets, often about how to eat and how to move, so you can have the energy and vitality that you want, need, and deserve in the second and better half. And today it's me solo, no interview, but there's some juicy ones coming up, so stay tuned. But I'm going over the entire 10 question quiz that I've been working on actually and distributing and asking for responses to for almost 2 years now. It was pre pandemic, and that seems incredible to me because I think I've always had this feeling like I've lost a year. But what I've noticed is that in the 1,800 women who've now, slightly over that, responded, some of the early answers have changed slightly. The percentages have changed. So I'm giving the up to date information. And in another build bone density, literally, it's flipping50.com/build bone density blog post, I shared the response to one question about bone density as I was looking for the answers in terms of, do women know what it takes to build bone density with exercise? The real answer, because I kept getting misguided answers, even from some very qualified experts that I'd interviewed, that led me to believe that potentially you may not have the information that you need. But that's what led me to this 10-part quiz. And I will tell you that the majority of the strength training questions here pertain to bone density, but not all. So I'm going to dive in. But before we get started, to make this personal, my mother is 94 and she just experienced a hip fracture and the inevitable hip replacement that happens after. Her recovery won't go as smoothly as it did 15 years ago. Why? Well, loss of muscle she's experienced since then. That in itself may have led to the cascade of events that caused the fall, but most definitely, a period of time in bed rest is devastating for older adults. So, back to you. Why is this relevant to you? This post is a reveal and a deep dive into results of a quiz intended to assess women over 45 strength training knowledge. Here are the results and why they're important. In an earlier post update, I shared one significant question about bone density. Here are the other 9 questions. You're seeing the actual quiz data if you're looking at the show notes, and I'll tell you how to get there at the end, collected from over 800 or 1,800 women over 45. All right, let's dive in. I'll take this one question at a time. Which is best for bone density? Was the first question. Now, of the answers, body weight training, heavy weight training, walking, swimming, and running were options. The answer, the correct answer, is heavy weight training. It was the second most popular answer. The first answer selected by the majority of our responders was body weight training. Now, at a glance, the correct answer was selected by almost 35% of women, and that's an increase from pre pandemic responses by 10%. That's good. However, what's alarming is that body weight training was selected by 45, almost 50% of women that who believe push-ups, body weight squats, or yoga will improve bone density. The question asked for the best, and that should have been an easy answer by a landslide. To reach adequate stimulus for bone progressing to a weight that encourages inability to do 10 repetitions, meaning fatigue in 10 or fewer repetitions is required. Though that isn't possible for every woman across every single joint, and exercises due to unique conditions or your injury history, it is the correct answer. Question two is, which repetition range results in the most optimal bone density improvement? The range of answers is number one, 10 to 12. Number two, 15 to 20. Number three, 10 or fewer. And number four, 20 to 25. All right, we've got some problems here because the correct answer is 10 or fewer. And unfortunately, it was only the third most common pick. Only 19.3% selected it correctly. So the first two answers, 10 to 12, now I have to admit you were warm, but warm is really not enough. So 30, almost 39% plus 33%. That's a lot. That's a very high number of women who are potentially exercising incorrectly, potentially for bone density, not getting what they signed up for. So, if only 19, and let's be generous and say 20% of women really know that they're exercising for bone density, we're in trouble. Question number three. What's the optimal frequency per week for weight training for menopausal women? The answers are, or the options are 3 times, twice, 4 times, or once. Got your answer picked? The real correct answer is twice. Based on research I'll explain in a moment, the answer selected by a landslide was 3 times a week, still operating under the more is better. So, surprisingly, it is 2, not 3, and it is most definitely not 4. Here's the why: women in menopause need as much more recovery as they do more muscle stimulation. The best kind of more stimulation comes from the type of volume that occurs in more sets and more total weight lifted for greater intensity, not more days a week of moderate exercise. Some fitness professionals are sharing small studies that report volume is very important for women over 40. Now, that's true. However, what is also true is the volume of recovery also increases. We cannot forget that. In other shares by fitness pros, the recommendation is 3 times a week. However, those studies are not A, all about heavy lifting each time, which truly helps bone density, or featuring women in menopause as subjects. For women in menopause prone to adrenal fatigue and increased injury, the sweet spot of 2 is ideal. The other magical thing that happens in studies testing postmenopausal women is that exercising twice a week with strength training and 2 interval training sessions a week when you're ready, they expend far more energy all week long than exercisers who do more or less, yes, more even, because exercising twice a week with 2 cardios and 2 strength training, there's no couch compensation. You have energy to live your life. You're taking the dog on a longer walk. You're playing golf more holes more often. You're gardening. You're actually cleaning your house instead of thinking about it. And you feel the energy to do those things as opposed to needing to recover on the couch. Next question. For optimal muscle fiber recruitment and strength gain, how much rest do you want between sets of exercise for the same muscle group? So I'm asking for how many minutes. Or seconds, but I gave that one away. All right. So the options are 1 to 2 minutes, 30 seconds or less. It's unique to you and do it whenever you feel rested. And the last is 3 to 5 minutes. And unfortunately, we have a problem. Houston, for optimal muscle fiber recruitment, 3 to 5 minutes rest before using the same muscle group again is the sweet spot, especially for beginners. The goal is not to sit on a machine, by the way, if you're at the gym, or to sit and wait idly scrolling through your phone if you're at home. But what self respecting women in midlife has that kind of time or patience anyway? The ideal is to format workouts so that they do that naturally. They give you that rest. You absolutely don't want to waste the time and effort you put in for a small percent of results that could be yours. Protocols used based on research about women just like you are your best bet. Watching your timing and your speed, or lack thereof, that you move back to the same exercise is key to fine tuning your results. You'll pick up a bigger weight and be more fresh when you do it, creating more opportunity for fitness. Here were the actual results of the answers to this question. More people picked 1 to 2 minutes than any other answer. The next up for the response was 30 seconds or less. That right there accounts for almost 70% of responses. It's unique to you. Do it whenever you feel like it. That was number 3 as far as popular answers. We're now talking 92% of responses. Only 9% of women responding chose 3 to 5 minutes, knowing that your muscles need recovery in between. That's a problem, friends. You got to rest a little bit more. You need to be doing some circuit training that is planned appropriately for you. What is the optimal number of rest days, or also hours stated in, between weight training sessions after 50? Your question response answers options are 2 days or 48 hours, 1 day or 24 hours, 3 days or 72 hours, or 4 days and 96 hours. And drumroll, please, the answer is 3 days or 72 hours. Now, that's true for most women. I will say this. This is something that you personally can test. What I've found and what research finds is that adults over 40 at some point begin needing greater recovery time than they did 10 or 20 years prior. And yet it's truly unique to you, because you will find 20 something Olympic athletes vary in their need for recovery. It is literally like your genetics, your gut microbiome, so many other things in your DNA. So test yourself, absolutely. You may not need that much recovery, but I also want to say this: because you're not sore does not mean you don't need more recovery time. So, one of the hints that you may need more recovery time, even if you're not somebody who gets sore, may be that you're not seeing any progress. You're not losing weight when you're doing things trying to lose weight. You're not gaining lean muscle tone when you're trying to gain lean muscle tone. And yet, yes, the obvious is true. If you're always achy and sore when you're going to start another workout, you probably need another rest and recovery day, and you will get more fit and probably enjoy it more because you rest more. So, there is that. Rest a little bit more. That was only the third most popular answer. Only 29% of women responding chose it. Which combination is best for changing body composition? Your option number 1 is weight training and HIIT. Option 2 is weight training and long, slow exercise. Option number 3 is yoga and long, slow exercise, meaning cardio. And option 4 is HIIT and long, slow exercise. And thankfully, only 6%, but I'd love to see you, chose HIIT and long, slow exercise. So please know that if it wasn't including weight training in the option, it's really not going to change your body composition very well at all. So the correct answer was chosen 65.5% of the time, and I'm very proud to say you chose weight training and HIIT. Now, we also, though, need to qualify that and say if you're ready. So, if you're suffering from adrenal fatigue, you actually may not be ready for HIIT yet. But strength training would be one of the first things you do reintroduce. So, go you, respondees. Next question is which of the following is the best work interval, recovery interval ratio for a beginner doing interval training? Let me read that again. Which of the following is the best work interval to recovery interval ratio for a beginner doing interval training? Option one in your responses is 20 seconds work to 60 seconds recovery. Option two is 20 seconds work to 20 seconds recovery. Option three is 20 seconds work to 40 seconds recovery. And option four is 20 seconds work to 10 seconds recovery. And drum roll, please. Congratulations, all of you who answered correctly. Option one, 20 seconds work to 60 seconds recovery. Now, the second best answer would have been, but actually wasn't selected in that order, 20 seconds of work to 40 seconds of recovery, but it was a close second. So 20 seconds to 20 seconds with that 1-to-1 ratio, that's for slightly more advanced or intermediate interval training um, experts, veterans, exercisers. There we go. And only at the very end should you do more work to less recovery. And that was answer number 4, but it was selected 20% of the time. So those of you who are new beginners, or help me if this is true, if your personal trainers teaching your beginners to exercise in a Tabata style that was originated by testing young 20-something athletic male elite cyclists who were working at 110% of their VO2 max, you're doing them a disservice. So make sure that you're not starting that way, that you're starting more reasonably to avoid injury and to work your way into it. Remember, exercise is stress. We start applying that stress in small bits wisely for best results. Next question is which of the following repetition ranges is best for bulk building, which means size gains? Option number 1 is 10 to 12 repetitions. Option number 2 is 15 to 20 repetitions. Option number 3 is less than 10 repetitions. Option number 4 is 20 to 25 repetitions. The correct answer, which was chosen by 35%, was 10 to 12 repetitions. It's a bulk building protocol. So if you, like I, grew to know weight training by learning to 3 sets of 10, that's a bulk building protocol. So if once upon a time strength training did not work for you, there may be a reason why. And at this point in your life, while you're losing muscle mass much more rapidly than you're gaining it, that may be a better program for you. All right, but here's the disappointing piece. All right, so there were at least, let's see, do my math, 27 plus 23%. There were a large number of over 50% of people chose repetition ranges other than that. So be thinking, and I do want to make sure that I emphasize this for you. So, bulk building, gaining lean muscle mass for someone who is smaller framed, smaller size, and losing muscle mass or finding it hard to put on is something that you want to do. If you can't lose the fat, focus on gaining the muscle. But also, if you're very small, small framed, thin, you actually do want that bulk building protocol. Next question. After high intensity workouts, what's the ideal window for a woman over 50 to ingest a high protein meal? And this is if you're not doing fasted exercise, which I don't recommend, but I know you may be listening and doing it. The options are number one, 30 to 60 minutes, meaning after workouts that you would have a high protein meal. Option number two is 60 to 120 minutes or 1 to 2 hours. Option number three is within 30 minutes. And option four is after 2 hours. The best answer is number two, which was 60 to 120 minutes. The sweet spot exactly is at 90 minutes. Your muscles are ripe for muscle protein synthesis, and we want that so very desperately because we have a reduced muscle protein synthesis, which means ability to absorb protein to the use of our muscles as we age. So we need to bring that into play whenever we possibly can. 60 to 120 minutes, that was only chosen by 26.5% of the people. And 37.4% chose 30 to 60 minutes. So you're just eating a little too soon. So shoot for 90 minutes if you can. When you can't do that, of course, you can do it at another time. After a strength training program or session, how many grams of protein minimum does research suggest is optimal for muscle protein synthesis? And the answer was correctly chosen, actually by about 34%, which is 30 grams of protein. Very proud. Congratulations. So you want to get over 30 if possible. 30 to 40 is ideal because of what we've just talked about, that muscle protein synthesis. Very important that we get more protein compared to if you're sitting down to a post workout smoothie with your daughter. You need more protein than she does. I know, surprising, right? But very true. All right. In a recent podcast, I discuss, by the way, essential amino acids. So, for those people who might want to consider them, why they might want to consider them, and how I use them. I tested some, and this is over a 4 year period. It took me a long time to actually come around to it, do it, and I have to be using something myself to know that it works in order to share it with you. So if you're plant based, or if you are skipping your protein and you know it, you should probably listen to this one. And I put that link in the show notes. If you are not in a program or that program's not working for you, I highly recommend you take a 5-day reset. I'm going to put everything below the show notes today, all the links, and that'll be at flipping50.com/results. What are you waiting for? Let's start flipping 50 today.